Who's taking more snaps for Notre Dame this season? Is it Kenny Minchey or CJ Carr? Today, we're making that call and running through a stack of player props from Jeremiyah Love's rushing totals to sack leaders and even whether Notre Dame is headed back to the college football playoff. We are covering all that and a whole lot more on today's Locked On Irish.
You are Locked On Irish, your daily podcast on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on and welcome in. This is Locked On Irish, your daily Notre Dame podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wojciak. I'm a Notre Dame alum, producer at Fox Sports, and I've been covering the Irish since 2020. Thank you for joining me here on Thursday, August 14th, and for making this your first watch or listen of the day. Before we get rolling, please take a second to subscribe on YouTube or follow on your preferred podcast platform. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Okay, today is part two of my conversation with VSiN's Tim Murray. I didn't even plan on releasing it in two parts, even though I basically had a two-part interview each of the past 3 weeks. Last week it was Tim Priester. The week before that it was Ian Book. But Tim Murray and I ended up talking for so long and we were getting so much good stuff that it just made sense to split it up. So in part one, which came out yesterday, we gave our big picture thoughts on the Irish after more than a week of fall camp. We broke down the quarterback battle between CJ Carr and Kenny Minchey, and then we looked ahead to the Miami game and some other marquee matchups on the schedule. If you missed it, go back and check that one out once you're done here. In this episode, we're going to make an official prediction on which quarterback will take more snaps this season, and we're going to break down some of the most interesting Notre Dame player props. Some of these are legitimate props that you can bet on FanDuel, and some of these I made up. We're talking rushing stats, receiving, sacks, interceptions, and more. Then we're going to wrap it up with whether or not Notre Dame will hit their over on the 10.5 win total and whether they'll make it back to the college football playoff. I had a lot of fun. I hope you do as well. Enjoy. Let's dive into some player props here. We can move a little bit quickly on these. The first one is real simple question, might not be so easy to answer. Who plays more snaps at quarterback this season, CJ Carr or Kenny Minchey? Not who will start, Who will play more snaps?
I'll say CJ Carr. I'm outside of injury, I'm relatively confident in that. I think this coaching staff wants CJ Carr to be the starter. Not to say that, look, they've made hard decisions before. And, last year, no one expected them to go out with Anthony Knapp at left tackle. And they were right. He was a damn good left tackle. So I wouldn't be shocked if we heard at some point that Kenny Minchey is the opening day starter. But I will say it is CJ Carr. With the caveat being, is there any thought to Mike Denbrock's most success coming with mobile quarterbacks? Just throwing it out there. Not to say that, hey, if Kenny Minchey wants to turn into Jaden Daniels, start right now, and CJ Carr, wish you best of luck.
Yeah, if Kenny Minchey turns into Jaden Daniels, I think everyone is going to be just fine with that. I will take CJ Carr for this prop, although I do think that we are going to see both quarterbacks in significant action this season. But I think CJ Carr is going to end up playing more. Could be wrong.
Let me ask you, do you think this is like a contentious Kaiser Zaire situation?
No.
Are we debating it, or is it ultimately, why do you think we see multiple quarterbacks this year?
I think that whoever they pick is going to struggle early on, or they'll try to find, if they end up going with Carr, I think that they'll have opportunities for Minchey to get on the field. I know that they said they don't want to do that, but I think that because of what Kenny Minchey brings with his legs, he's going to have a place on this team and they're going to utilize him. And maybe he goes out there and he's a red zone guy and he ends up winning the job, kind of like Ian Book somewhat in 2018.
Closer?
But just, I don't think we're in danger of I don't think we're in danger of a 2016 situation because Malik had already won the job the year prior, and I think the coaching staff just couldn't make a decision. I don't think that's going to be the case here. I think that they're going to pick a guy for the rest of camp. They're going to go out there and then see what happens. But it's just going to be really interesting to see how long of a leash this coaching staff gives whoever they decide, because they could pick Carr, but if he starts turning the ball over like he's allegedly been doing in camp, they're going to pull him. And I think that they feel some level of just trust, and they kind of know what they're going to get with Kenny Minchey, where at this point, or at least the way it's been in camp, it feels like they don't know what they're getting with CJ Carr. Like sometimes it's great, but sometimes it's not. When it's not great and you're throwing the ball to the other team, that kind of cancels out all the good stuff that you do.
Is there any way this is 2018 and that they're game planning for the first two games with one quarterback in mind and then knowing all along they're going to go to a different one? Because in 2018, Brandon Wimbush, I think, had to play that game against Michigan, and he utilized his legs, and they won the game, made a couple of big throws, and then they probably kept him in too long. They make the change to book, and then the rest is history. I don't know if one of these quarterbacks is that, and I don't think that's going to happen. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, could there be a situation where they've game planned for Minchey to be the guy because of his legs in these first two games, and then they can ease into CJ Carr? I doubt it, but I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't know if that would be their plan A, but it's probably something that they've considered, because if we're being honest, I think, and I've been saying that CJ Carr is going to win the job all off season long, but if the competition is truly in a deadlock as it is right now, and you just think about, okay, based on what we know about these quarterbacks, which one gives you the best chance to beat Miami? I'd probably take Kenny Minchey, right? If he's the cool, calm, collected one, I trust him more in a very hostile environment like Miami. And if Notre Dame is going to lean on running the ball, he gives you another weapon in the run game, and they could use him in the designed runs. He's really good at it. So if you're just really isolating it to one individual matchup, based on what we've heard so far, I think Kenny Minchey gives him a better shot. But I also don't think that they really want to do that where they are kind of picking between two, because then you could have a situation like 2016 where you're not figuring out, you're not deciding, you're not making a decision, this is our guy, and then some guys on the team could be like, well, we think it should be Carr, we think it could be Minchey. That is where you open yourselves up to some problems.
Did you see the question in Sampson's mailbag regarding Jeremiyah Love? Apparently has put up I'll read it for you.
Yeah, okay, so
do you have a theory to this? So for those who haven't seen it.
Yeah, I did.
This is the question in Pete Sampson's mailbag. Jeremiyah Love has posted multiple Instagram stories playing NCAA 2026 with Kenny Minchey as the starting quarterback. As someone who plays the game, CJ Carr is the default starter. So that means Love would have had to go and manually put in Minchey. Thoughts? ?
Okay, so I could be wrong. It is my understanding that he was posting videos that were sent to him.
Okay.
Where people were sending him videos of like, look at what I did with you, and they could easily be playing with Minchey. Because I played the game too, and like, I think CJ Carr is a 78 overall and Kenny Minchey is a 76 overall. If that is the case, then I don't put any stock into it. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've got bad intel, and that Jeremiyah Love did choose to play with Kenny Minchey. And if that's the case, I mean, I've heard that the teammates love him, and it makes sense. He's been around longer, right? He's sort of like a unspoken guy, and I think when you have someone like CJ Carr, not to say that he's brought it on himself, but I think that there is a persona. He has the reputation of a savior that comes from the fan base. That doesn't mean he did anything to sort of attract that, but, you know, if Kenny Minchey is a great dude, the teammates love him, and he's going out there and he's just steady and he's making all the right plays, then I could totally see why a guy like Jeremiyah Love, especially someone who played and succeeded a lot with the running quarterback last year, I could totally see why he wants Minchey out there.
Hey, look, I haven't played the new college football. I haven't played college football since like 2014, but it is more fun with a running quarterback. It's more fun. I mean,
Jalen Milroe was like the best player in the game last year.
I remember,
and he was not the best player in college football.
I remember I made a trade. This was in Madden when I was in college. This was like 17, 18 years ago, but I traded Peyton Manning for Michael Vick, and I got like a first-round pick as well. And I was like, that was the best trade ever, because Michael Vick was unstoppable in Madden.
This is going to be good. I need to get some research on this. I'm sure some people in the comments will tell me I'm completely wrong and that it was definitely Jeremiyah Love. I don't know. We're going to have to just ask him. I bet he will be asked about it at this point. He'll probably have to come up with some response, but I don't think that the running backs are going to be available to the media again until the season starts. And at that point, like, who even cares?
Right. Yeah, because we'll know the starter at that point.
Speaking of Jeremiyah Love, right now, his regular season rushing yards total is set at 1,075.5 on FanDuel. Are you taking the over or the under?
So I will take the under because I think Notre Dame knows we need Jeremiyah Love for 16 games. And I think he will get a lot of carries in the first 2 games. And then hopefully with the stable of running backs that they have, and I know obviously they took a hit with Keedron Young, but the freshman, was it Nolan? I know you've been hearing that he's been getting some buzz and other people have been mentioning him. Certainly they could utilize. I just, with running backs, I tend to lean under, like, Saquon Barkley. If I had to bet his prop this year, I'd probably go under. I think it's like 1,500 yards or whatever in the NFL. So he ran for 1125 a year ago. I'll go under because I think they don't want him to go over, if that makes sense. I think ultimately, if I remember correctly, Jaywan Sider, I think both guys ran for 1,000 yards a year ago, Singleton and Allen. I think they would like it to be similar. So I will go under because I don't think they want him to go over.
I would take the under as well, with the caveat that if we're talking total yards, I would take the over because I do think that this Jeremiyah Love as a receiving threat is real. I think that they're going to throw him the ball more, and therefore he's going to have less rushing yards.
Is it real and spectacular?
I think so. I think the 21 personnel, I think that's real too. I think they're actually going to do it this year. I personally did not watch Seinfeld, but like my parents watched so much of it that I basically consumed a lot of it by proxy. So I actually did get that reference.
Okay, you did. I'm glad you picked up on the reference.
So I assume you're going to take the under on his touchdown total, which is at 15.5 on FanDuel. These are legit lines, by the way. If you're listening or watching, you can
total.
You
That's
can go
total
about these.
Touchdowns.
Rushing, but mind you, he did have a touchdown in literally every single regular season game last year.
He had 17 touchdowns last year. I mean, and one of the most spectacular 2-yard runs in the history of college football. I really believe that. I'll go under. Once again, I think if this is, including postseason, Tyler, I probably would lean over on a lot of these because if you're Notre Dame, do you want Jeremiyah Love scoring 16 touchdowns this year? I don't think you do. I think you want, and once again, I go back to they tasted the national championship game. And Jeremiyah Love, it was not because of attrition. He was banged up. You want him to be as fresh as possible come January. And when you've got a guy that I imagine, I don't know this for certain, but I would imagine Jadarian Price has pretty good NIL package because he stick around and he could be a starter at 95% of college football programs right now. Price is going to get a lot of run. Aeneas Williams is going to get a lot of run. I think the rookie or the freshman is going to get a lot of run here. And if they can extend some leads here, I have to take under. That's a big number, man. I know he scored a ton of touchdowns last year, and I can't wait for him to hurdle dudes into the end zone like he did against Army, and Northern Illinois, but we try to forget that one. So yeah, I'll go under.
I'm actually going to take the over on this, and it's because he had 17 rushing touchdowns last year, and he would have had a lot more if Riley Leonard didn't also have a ton. And I think that they are going to conserve him as much as possible. They're not going to be giving him 20 carries a game or anything like that. But I just have a feeling that when they get close to the goal line, Jaywan Sider is going to put his best option out there, and he's going to rack up a lot of touchdowns, even if he doesn't rack up a ton of carries. Tim Murray's going to be right back with us in a moment to share some predictions about the Notre Dame wide receivers and tight ends. But before we get to that, I want to tell you about an awesome new promotion courtesy of FanDuel Sportsbook. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So take a flyer on the MVP race. Personally, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes. You can get him at plus 650 right now on FanDuel. He has the 4th best odds to win MVP, but I think he's going to go out there and remind everyone that he's still the top dog in the NFL after a blowout and embarrassing loss to the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Plus, you can crown your champion in August. And because of the reasons I just mentioned, I'm going to take the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl at plus 850. I know, kind of a boring pick, but they have the 4th best odds right now. And until someone knocks them out in the AFC, I feel confident they'll be back in the big game, and this time they'll get it done. Plus, you can parlay your division winner dark horses. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Now, switching over to the wide receivers, this is a Tyler over-under. I am putting Malachi Fields over-under on receiving yards in the regular season, his total at 872.5. That is the exact number that Miles Boykin had back in 2018 when he had his breakout season. In all camp, Malachi Fields has been drawing a lot of comparisons to Miles Boykin. So would you take the over or under there?
Come on, man. You can't give me like 600 or something like that. I would have been happy to take the over on that. Now you're going to give me a big old number. I'll take the under because...
Is it that big, though? Like, it is, because we've been accustomed to wide receivers not producing a whole lot, but it's really not that crazy.
Is it? Yeah, but like, I think they have legit other weapons, Greathouse and Faison and Pauling. I do expect Fields to have a really good year, but man, history is telling us that's not. And you got a young quarterback, who could be in flux there. So look, I hope the over hits. Like, that'd be great. But the leading wide receiver last year was Jaden Greathouse with 592 yards. So I'm going to go ahead
in 16 games too. That's so bad.
I'll go ahead and take the under 872 in 12 games this year.
Okay, this isn't necessarily a prop, just a would you rather. Okay, and I made this up because we're having this conversation. Would you rather have the combo of Miles Boykin and junior year Chase Claypool from 2018 or Malachi Fields and Jane Greathouse 2025?
I think I would rather have this duo.
Interesting. Why?
If Greathouse, and maybe it's just a prisoner of the moment, but if I think back to the Ohio State game, he was making plays against that defense. And Malachi Fields, I know you brought up Miles Boykin for a reason, because that's the comparison that they're drawing. So if that's a wash, if you're talking about Chase Claypool 2019, I'm taking Chase Claypool 2019, but 2018 kind of had its ups and downs. So I think I'll go with a little bit of the unknown of Malachi Fields with Jaden Greathouse, hopefully building off of what was as good of a finish to a season that you could really hope to have.
I would take the Boykin Claypool combo because of their size. However, I would take Notre Dame's 1 through 5 and receiving options compared to 2018. Because if you look back at 2018, they had Boykin and Claypool. They were the top two leading wide receivers. Chris Fink at 3, quietly. 571 yards receiving, which would have led the team last year. He had 2 touchdowns. Alizé Mack at tight end, not that great. Cole Kmet was right behind him. He was the 5th leading receiver that year, even though he played tight end, but he was banged up a little bit. He was the number 2 tight end. So the point being here is that they had a strong 1-2, and even we got to throw Chris Fink in there, man. He had a good season that year. But then you compare to what Notre Dame has this year, when they should have 4 really good options at wide receiver with Fields, Greathouse, and then Jordan Faison and Will Pauling, and then what we hope will be a breakout year for Eli Raridon. I will take those top 5 compared to the 2018 top 5, and I think I would also take the under on Fields' receiving yards total, because I think they're going to spread the love a little bit amongst those 5 players.
Well, and that's why I agree. I think when you've got a Faison, when you've got a Pauling, and when you've got, I think, Jordan Faison as a number 4 is just such a difference than thinking of him as like, hey, he's got to be our number 2. Or at times in Sam Hartman's year, like he was the main guy. Like,
yeah,
having him as the number 4 option at wide receiver, that is so beneficial, especially if all the reports are true about Pauling and just his professional demeanor and how well he's playing. I mean, look, that's a dude that put up numbers at Wisconsin and was a leader on that program. And then, look, I don't know what the reports are regarding the youngsters, but like, can we get one of them to hit? Can it be Cam Williams? Could it be Micah Gilbert? KK Smith's been in the program for a while. Elijah Burris, like one of those dudes hits just to be like a guy that can get like 12 to 15 catches. And then you're talking about a pretty darn impressive core of, 4.5 wide receivers and a hopefully rising, I don't want to say star, but rising guy in Eli Raridon.
I don't think we're going to see a ton of Elijah Burris this year. I think he's in a very similar situation as Micah Gilbert last year. The difference is last year, Micah Gilbert was the true freshman that everyone was talking about in spring practice, much like Elijah Burris this past spring. But I don't think that Micah Gilbert had as good of a camp last fall as Elijah Burris is having right now. But Mike Brown has been pretty adamant about the fact that he wants a 6-man rotation. You've got 4 locked in. I think that because Micah Gilbert he wasn't able to do anything in the spring, that people kind of forgot about him. But like, that dude's a dog, and he's been making some big plays as well. So I think he's 5. KK Smith is going to be 6 going into his junior year, and then Elijah Burris is right there at 7. So he's going to play a little bit. I just don't think we're going to see a ton from him. But I do think long-term he could be a big-time hit for the Irish.
But I will say, going down to Miami with an uncertainty at quarterback, having those 4 wide receivers, I know Eli Raridon's a bit of an unknown, but you got 4 receivers you can trust. You got really 3 running backs you can trust, right? Aeneas Williams made plays in the playoffs. I mean, in the Orange Bowl, he made big plays coming out of the backfield. And, Jeremiah Smith, the point that you made, I think is fair. And what's been reported too is like, I think they're going to use him a lot, kind of shift them out. Like at the end of the day, let me ask you this question. Power rate Jaden Greathouse, power rate Jeremiyah Love and Jadarian Price. Where are they pound for pound, talent-wise on this roster? What number?
I put Love at 1.
Sure.
I would put Price.
Is he top 5?
No.
Top 10?
I did my top 5.
Okay.
And it was I did not have Price in the top 5. I had Charles Jagasaw at number 3. This was right before he got hurt. I would put Jadarian Price on like the fringe of the top 10.
All right.
I think that they got some dudes on defense. But he's going to be getting the ball a lot. And like I said earlier, I think they're going to run 2 running back sets a lot more and then run that RPO action that Tommy Rees loved back in 2021. When Buckner would come in with his package, they would run 21 personnel. He'd either, have the read option to the running back going to the left, and then the running back could leak out going to the right. And then it was basically Buckner could run it or throw that little flat route. Like there's a lot of different things they could play with there. So Price is going to get the ball a lot this year.
Yeah, and that's what my point was. Like, if he's, let's just say, a top 12 player on the roster, Price, getting 2 of your top 12 players on the field at the same time seems like something you're going to want to do. Now, I will say, I'm sure Notre Dame fans are going to be furious throughout the season. Why aren't they on the field together? I want 2 running back sets. But I think, look, Mike Denbrock is one of the highest paid offensive coordinators, one of the most respected offensive coordinators in college football. I think he's smart enough to know I've got 2 studs in the backfield, not duds, 2 studs in the backfield. We got to get them on the field at the same time.
All right, let's talk about Eli Raridon. I'm going to put his receptions total at 39.5. That is 4 less than Cole Kmet had in 2019. But remember, he came on in that Georgia game. He missed the first 2 games that season and was outside of Chase Claypool, obviously Notre Dame's best receiving threat. Would you take the over or under on 39.5 for Eli Raridon?
Well, Mitchell Evans led the team in receptions last year with 43, and he was 50% for like 90% of the year.
I know, like he didn't really look great until November, and then he looked awesome. But yeah, it was a struggle getting there.
Man, some of those catches he made in 2023 were something. I'll go under, and that's an optimistic under. I don't want him to get 40 receptions because I want those 4 wide receivers to have a ton. But I think it'll be very close to that number because I think Eli Raridon might be one of the breakout players on the team this year. I think I'm not gonna say that he's gonna fall in line with Kyle Rudolph and Cole Kmet and et cetera. But like, I do think that he's going to have a big year. I'll say he's like at 36 in the regular season. So that would be what, average 3 receptions a game. I think that's fair. 3 receptions a game for For Eli Raridon, I think that's a fair expectation for him. So I'll go slightly under.
I will go slightly under as well, but I will say that his receptions are going to be loud receptions. Did you know that the most receptions Kyle Rudolph had in a single season in college was 33? Now, granted, it's because he couldn't stay on the field because he was always hurt, but that's kind of shocking, right?
What was that? What did he have, like a 90-yard reception against Michigan?
Yeah, I was at that game, and then Denard Robinson immediately went right down the field and scored. Those are dark times in the Brian Kelly era. But on that note, a tight end has led the team in receptions every year since Chase Claypool back in 2019. So just no prop here. Who do you think is going to lead the team in receptions this year?
I think Malachi Fields will lead the team in yardage. I think, oh man, I think it'll be Greathouse.
I agree. I think they're going to feed him the ball a lot. Like he's going to be their screen guy. Yeah. I think that he's going to get a lot of, like, if we're talking average yards per reception, reception yards, receiving touchdowns, I think Malachi Fields leads in every one of those categories.
When I think you look at yards per reception, I think Fields will be tops. And I think he's going to make some big plays. But I think Greathouse is going to be fed a lot. And I would, if there was a betting market out there, I would say Jaden Greathouse would be a decent favorite to lead the team in receptions this year.
Tim and I still have a lot more to get to, including our player props for the Notre Dame defense and his thoughts on whether Notre Dame is a good bet to make it back to the college football playoff. But first, a word from Wayfair. As summer winds down, there's something nice about getting back into a routine that you love, and Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the season ahead. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh your home. I recently grabbed a new couch from Wayfair, and it has been the perfect addition to my home. I love how it fits my style. It instantly made my space feel refreshed and ready for fall. It was so convenient to find exactly what I needed all in one place and at a price that fit my budget. This is the perfect time to get your home ready, whether that's organizing, upgrading your workspace, or making weeknight dinners easier. Get organized, refreshed, and back to routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. Switching over to the defense, last year, Riley Mills led the team with 7.5 sacks on the season. So I won't give you a specific player. Will whoever leads Notre Dame in sacks this season eclipse 7.5? So you can pick any player. Okay, who are you taking?
Yes. I think Traore is going to have a monster season. Now, buyer beware, because last year I said that Jordan Botello was going to have a monster season, and he was.
He was having one, man.
Going to have a monster season until the injury bug snatched him up. He was going to be a beast. I know that people want, it to be, the freakazoid there coming off of the edge. But I think ultimately, Traore is going to have a really, really big year. So I'll say Traore. I mean, I want it to be Bryce Young, but I don't know. I'm just I think we're a year away from him being like a first team All-American.
Are you concerned at all about his knee?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you think at the end of the season, he's just going to start racking them up, basically, which is kind of what happened with Mills. Didn't he have 4 against Florida State last year? Let me get tech on that right now. He did have at least 3 in that game because he had 3 in the span of 2 drives, but it was nuts what he was doing.
Could I talk myself into Burnham? There's been a lot of positivity about Burnham.
He just doesn't get after the passer enough. He's a good player. He's great on run defense, but and this is not meant to disparage him as a player because I think he's good. But if you looked at I got quarterback hurries up right now, and Burnham had 8. Riley Mills led the team with 21. Tuialamaka, maybe we're sleeping on him. He had 20. Howard Cross had 17. Jack Kaiser had 12. Young and Heinisch had 10. Oben had 9. Josh Burnham with 8. So I just don't think he gets in the backfield enough. And also, I think on 3rd and longs, he's not going to be in because they're going to have Traore, they're going to have KVA, they're going to have Snead. I just don't think the opportunities are there for him.
I would love to pick one of the linebackers. I would love them just to say Jalen Snead, go get the quarterback, but that's not going to happen. I think too, as you look at the schedule as it gets weaker, and Traore is going to be healthier because he got hurt in late September.
Yeah, he got hurt against Louisville.
Yeah, I think Traore would be the one, and I think you'll have I think you'll have a big year.
It's certainly possible. I think I'm going to take the over as well. And you know what? I've been all in on Bryce Young all offseason. I'm not going to back out now. I think that Bryce Young is going to have one game against a weaker team where he just goes off and has 3 or something like that. And then that could sort of carry him over 7.5. But you were talking about the linebackers. Let's go total tackles for Drayk Bowen at 80.
Over.
I agree. I don't think he's coming off the
78
field.
last year. I think he's going to be a beast. I think he's just going to be a steady force. I think it's fair to say that like a KVA or a Jalen Snead are going to make maybe some like crazy freakazoid plays, as I've said freakazoid twice now. But I think you're just going to get that steady hand of Drayk Bowen. And I think he goes over. I think he leads the team in tackles. And I think over 80 for sure.
I think over too. He's just one of those guys that is in on every single tackle. I remember when I played high school football, one of my buddies was the middle linebacker. His name was Wesley Overstreet. And I swear our PA announcer was just having fun with it. He'd be like, Wesley Overstreet in on another tackle. Like over and over and over. And I feel like that's going to be Drayk Bowen this year. All right, to the secondary now. I'm putting Adon Shuler's interception total at 4.5. That seems high, but he was a ball hawk last season, and now Xavier Watts is gone. I think they're going to utilize him a little bit differently. He's going to have the freedom to make more plays. So do you think that's too high, too low, just right? What do you think?
I think it's too high. Now, if you had given me any number on Xavier Watts last year, I probably would have said under, and then he went over. So like Watts just defied anything logical when it came to interceptions in back-to-back seasons. So no, you're right. I mean, Adon Shuler had the pick against Texas A&M. He's a dude that's out there, ready to hawk it down for sure. I'll just say under just because that would be logical. And I don't know, man. Apparently Tay Johnson just gets picks left and right in practice too. So maybe, maybe he's going to get some picks too in the safety position. But I'll go under. But I think Adon Shuler should have another monster season there in the back end of the secondary.
I'm glad you brought up Tay Johnson because this is the last prop I have for you. It's not really a prop. Rank the safeties in terms of snaps played this season.
Including Shuler?
Yeah, we know Shuler's one, so I'll just get that out of the way. So now it's Stroman, Talek, Johnson. How do you think the playing time divvies out?
I'll say, I like Talek a lot. Are we including special teams or no?
But yeah, we can. I mean, they're all going to probably contribute on special teams.
Talek is kind of a special teams monster. I think Stroman's going to have a big year. I don't know. You think back to last year and like Rod Hurd ended up being a guy that was kind of an unsung hero. I felt like, we thought he would come in, get the starting position. Adon Shuler beat him out, but he was so vital for this team.
He didn't start, but he played 409 snaps last season. That's more than Oben, KVA. Now, granted, KVA was hurt a little bit. Bryce Young, Gabriel Rubio. So he was a factor out there, and they didn't even want to rotate as much at safety, but he would come in that dime package, which they might do with Tay Johnson, honestly, as opposed to running out there with like Dallas Golden or Mark Zachary, the true freshman.
I'll say Stroman, Talek, Johnson, but I think Johnson and Talek could be very close. And you're more piped in than I am, but these reports are true that he's out there hawking balls on CJ Carr a lot. Like maybe he's going to figure his way. I mean, he was a big time recruit, man. Coming out of Indianapolis. So
yeah, he was. I think he might have been from Fort Worth. Could be making that up.
Oh, maybe
he's definitely an Indiana kid, though.
Yeah. I'll say Tay Johnson just slightly less than Talek, but I think it's going to be very close. I think they're all going to make some plays, and that's why it's funny. I don't know if this is an apt comparison, but Mountain West Media Days was at Circa. And, there was a lot of talk, obviously, about Boise State and how you're going to replace Ashton Genty. And, we're really excited about our running back room. And I'm like, okay, you lost a guy who ran for 2,600 yards and was Heisman runner-up. Notre Dame lost an all-time player in school history with Xavier Watts. And I'm not saying I'm more excited about what's back there, because that's not true. I would pay significant money to get Xavier Watts back.
A lot of people would. A lot of people would if they could.
But that said, I think the Stroman, Talich, Johnson trio has the potential to be really solid back there with Adon, Shuler. So I'll say it's in that order, but I think it'll be really close.
I'm going Stroman, Johnson, Talich, because I think when Notre Dame does go to the dime package where they have more DBs in the field, I think Tay Johnson is more serviceable as like another corner on the field, like a corner safety hybrid. I think he's basically going to play the Rod Hurd of last year. That's where he's going to come in. And then Talich is more of like a true safety. He's going to split with Jalen Stroman. So we're going to see a lot of them. I think that's kind of how the rotation shakes out. But last question I have, we've covered it all. Notre Dame, minus 164 to make the college football playoff. Are you taking it?
I would. Yeah, I think Notre Dame makes the playoff this year. I have some worry. I really thought last year if they didn't make the playoff, it would be a disaster of a season. I don't know if it would be a disaster if Notre Dame did not make the playoff this year. But look, the schedule, while there are potential landmines, you mentioned it. They're a favorite in every game. They're a deep team. If the quarterback hits, I think they have the chance to make a deep run. I do think they make the playoff. I think it's unfortunate, but I think it kind of stems on the first two games. I still think they have a chance if they start 0-2, but it's an uphill battle after that. They got to win one of these first two games. They sweep them. They could be cooking with gas, but I do think they make the playoff. I would not bet that because I think there's a lot of potential volatility with this team. I think the more upside is the way I would look, like a deep run into the playoffs, national championship, long shot. Those types of things would be the way that I would look. My last question to you is, should Marcus Freeman and this coaching staff be fired for not playing Max Hurlman at wide receiver?
You didn't want to take away reps from Chris Mitchell?
I mean, he's out there scoring touchdowns and doing backflips in the end zone, man. What are we doing? I mean, the guy scored one total touchdown at Colgate and then is scoring touchdowns for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the preseason. So I don't know. Coaching staff missed out on a potential monster there in Max Hurlman.
Apparently so. That'd be pretty hilarious if he's the guy who ends up having a career in the NFL. But Tim, I've taken far too much of your time. I know that you are incredibly busy and you will continue to be busy throughout the fall. So before we wrap, let folks know where they can find you and all your work this fall.
Yeah, check out the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We do a drinking game, at least my listeners do, of every time I mention Notre Dame. And you get good and drunk because I mentioned Notre Dame a decent amount there true. On that podcast.
As a listener, that is true.
So wherever you get the podcasts, and then check out my Saturday tailgate show. I do VSiN primetime weeknights, but also the tailgate show. We're going to be tweaking the time, but Saturday mornings before kickoff on VSiN. We're on Sirius XM channel 158 if you do have Sirius satellite radio. And then if you're in New England, we're on Nesson Plus. If you're in the DC area, we're on Masson, and then YouTube TV as well. So yeah, check it out. The VSiN College Football Betting Podcast and the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show on Saturday mornings when football season is back.
Awesome. Really appreciate you coming on, Tim. Live it up in Miami. I know you're going to be down there for the game, so enjoy it, and we'll do it again soon.
Hawaii, then Miami, man. We got to, tough job. Somebody's got to do it. But look, if anyone out there, owns a bar in South Bend and wants the College Football Tailgate Show to come on the road, hit me up at one Tim Murray. We'll try to make it happen. All right.
We'll get our best men and women on it. That's going to do it for my conversation with Tim Murray. Thank you so much for tuning in and making this your first watch or listen of the day. If you enjoyed our convo, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the show wherever you get your podcasts, and leave a rating and review. I know I bring this up every single episode, but it seriously goes such a long way in supporting this program, and I really do appreciate it. I'm going to be back here tomorrow morning with recruiting insider Eric Thomas from Irish Illustrated to wrap up Notre Dame's 2026 recruiting class, because now that Elijah Golden is on board, I think the Irish are set before the season even starts. Plus, will the Irish finish with the top 5 class? Tune in tomorrow to find out. And then later on, probably over the weekend, thinking Sunday night, I have a hunch that Marcus Freeman is going to announce who the starting quarterback is going to be on Sunday with his next press conference. If that is the case, we're going to have a new episode later that afternoon reacting to that decision. So a lot of fun stuff coming your way. Make sure that you are subscribed, and I will see you on Friday.